They thought she was just another grieving widow, running her late husband's saloon in Silverback Ridge. They saw a quiet woman in her early 40s, serving drinks and keeping to herself, watching the town's slow decline with sad resignation. In her eyes, what the Red River Gang didn't realize was that Sheely Hawthorne wasn't just any widow. Before settling in this dusty corner of Montana territory, she'd been Captain Sheely "Ghost Eye" Mitchell, the most decorated female sniper in the Union Army, with 87 confirmed eliminations during the Civil War. Now, watching 3 Red River riders circle her saloon that quiet autumn morning, Sheely recognized the telltale signs of outlaws marking new territory. Their horses, bred for endurance rather than speed, carried extra gear strapped tight against potential pursuits. The men's revolvers showed signs of regular maintenance, and they scanned rooflines with practiced caution. These weren't common bandits. They were professionals expanding their operation. She could have looked away, could have paid their protection fees like every other business between here and Dakota Territory. Instead, she found herself calculating distances, noting angles, remembering skills she'd thought long buried with her husband Thomas. The decision to make a stand would transform her peaceful saloon into ground zero of a war against one of the West's most sophisticated outlaw operations. Through the saloon's front windows, Sheely watched their horses' hooves kick up dust in the morning light. Her hands moved steadily, polishing glasses behind the bar, but her eyes tracked every detail. The leader's mare had military-grade saddlebags, the kind used by cavalry scouts. The other 2 riders positioned themselves with tactical awareness, covering multiple angles. These men had training. "Miss Shelley," young Beth Parker called out, her 16-year-old barmaid arriving early for her shift. The girl had perfect timing, showing up just as trouble was brewing. "Beth, saloon's closed today." "Head home," Sheely called softly, her voice carrying that particular tone she'd used to command scout teams. The girl's expression shifted from confusion to concern, but she knew better than to question her employer's instructions. As Beth disappeared down the back alley, the first rider dismounted. Tall and weathered, with a distinctive sword scar running along his jaw, he moved with the confident grace of someone used to violence. Sheely recognized him from wanted posters. Marcus Cole, former Union cavalry officer turned outlaw. His reputation for civilized negotiations made him all the more dangerous. "Fine establishment you've got here," Cole called out, his spurs ringing against the wooden walkway. His voice carried that particular tone of false friendliness Sheely remembered from countless battlefield encounters. She kept her movements calm and deliberate, continuing to polish glasses. "Can I help you gentlemen with something?" The other 2 riders flanked Cole as he entered, Ghost and Hawkins, according to her sources. Their positioning was professional, one by the main door, one drifting toward the side entrance. Both wore Confederate gun belts, suggesting military background. Shelley noted their thumb positions resting close to their hammers. They were expecting trouble. "Actually," Cole smiled, removing his hat with exaggerated courtesy, "we're here to help you. Silverback Ridge is changing, growing. Business owners need protection these days, insurance against unfortunate accidents." Shelley met his gaze steadily, remembering similar negotiations across battlefield lines. "Got insurance, several policies." "Not the kind you need," Cole's smile hardened. "Red River Gang, we provide specialized coverage, comprehensive, for a reasonable monthly contribution." Through the bar's mirrors, Sheely noticed more riders arriving, positioning their horses strategically around her property. 8 total now. They were taking this seriously. "And if I'm not interested in your coverage?" Sheely's voice remained neutral, but carried the kind of quiet authority that made Cole's enforcers shift uneasily. 20 years of military service had taught her to read situations, to spot the moments when violence hung by a thread. This was one of those moments. "Let me be clear," Sheely continued, her hands still moving steadily over the glassware. My establishment's not interested. Neither are the other businesses you've been threatening. Silverback Ridge isn't your territory." Cole's hand drifted toward his gun belt. "Wrong answer, ma'am. See, we're trying to be professional here, civilized, but some folks need a more direct demonstration of why our protection matters." "That a threat?" Sheely asked quietly. "That's business advice," Cole replied. "Think it over. We'll be back tonight for your answer. Make the smart choice. Hate to see anything happen to this nice place, or that young girl who works for you." Sheely's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Cole caught it, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. "Touch my barmaid," Sheely said softly, "and you'll learn things about me you really don't want to know." Cole laughed, but there was an edge to it. "Tough talk for a widow. Remember, tonight. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." As the riders pulled away, Sheely was already moving. She secured the saloon's front doors and headed upstairs to her private rooms. From a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards, she pulled out a carefully maintained Springfield rifle, military grade, modified with a precision scope. Inside its case were detailed notes about Red River Gang activities, protection rackets, stagecoach robberies, patterns of intimidation. She'd been watching them for weeks, gathering intelligence out of old habit. Her fingers traced the rifle's familiar lines as she assembled it with practiced efficiency. The smart play was to pay their protection money, look the other way like everyone else. But Sheely hadn't spent 4 years fighting to preserve the Union, only to watch outlaws devour a small town. Through her window, she spotted Red River members, watching her saloon from various positions around town. They were doing surveillance, gathering intelligence for tonight. Professional work. But they'd made a crucial mistake. They thought they were dealing with a simple widow, someone they could intimidate with threats and demonstrations of force. Instead, they'd given a former military sniper exactly what she needed, probable cause to start dismantling their operation. Sheely allowed herself a small smile as she began her preparations. By threatening her saloon and her barmaid, they'd made it personal. By tonight, the Red River Gang would learn a hard lesson about judging a salon owner by her cover. Sheely's phone buzzed from her hidden surveillance post overlooking the main street. A text from Sheriff Chen. "Spotted Red River at your place. Need to talk." Sheely typed back, "Tonight after hours. Bring what you have on them." Another message. This one from Beth. "My brother saw them watching our house, Miss Shelley. Pa wants to know if we should leave town." Shelley responded carefully. "Stay inside tonight. You're not their target." Red River's surveillance on the Parker residence complicated things, but it also betrayed their ruthlessness. Through her modified scope, Sheely tracked Red River members establishing watch positions around the saloon. 6 different outlaws, rotating, through predetermined spots, their movements suggesting formal military training. She'd counted 15 total gang members in town now, not counting Cole and his lieutenants. More than standard intimidation warranted. From her vantage point in the abandoned church bell tower, Sheely documented their patterns in a small leather notebook. Red River wasn't just watching her saloon. They were monitoring traffic patterns, marking delivery routes, meeting with figures who slipped in and out of town under cover of darkness. This was about more than protection money. A movement caught her eye. Cole himself, meeting with someone wearing a deputy's badge behind the livery stable. She adjusted her scope, recognizing Deputy James Reed. The conversation was brief. Money changed hands. Sheely made another note. Red River was building infrastructure, not just muscle. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Silverback Ridge. As Sheely made her way back to the saloon, through the network of back alleys she'd carefully mapped. Her military training had taught her to always know her terrain, and she'd spent months learning every corner of this town. Now that knowledge would serve a new purpose. Inside the saloon, she began her preparations. The upper floor windows offered clear lines of sight down both main streets. The storage cellar connected to old mining tunnels that ran beneath the town. Every piece of furniture, every mirror, every floorboard could become an asset with proper planning. She was reverting to old habits, turning her territory into a tactical advantage. Her contemplation was interrupted by Sheriff Chen slipping in through the back door. "You've got a problem," Sheely said without preamble, spreading surveillance. Photos across the bar. They showed Red River members at different locations throughout Silverback Ridge, outside businesses, monitoring traffic, meeting with masked riders. "Town's got a problem," Chen corrected, studying the images. "How long have they been here?" Shelley pointed to her notebook. 3 months officially. Started small, just passing through, they said. Then they bought that old livery stable on Pine Street. Now they're offering protection to every business within 10 blocks. Sheely indicated one photo showing Cole with Deputy Reed. "Your department." Chen's jaw tightened. Internal Affairs has been watching him, but nothing solid yet. Red River's careful. They learn from their mistakes. "Not careful enough," Sheely pulled out her surveillance notes, showing Chen the patterns she'd observed. "They're using the livery stable as a front. Late-night deliveries, heavy security, supplies that have nothing to do with horses. Ammunition crates, mostly. You think they're stockpiling weapons?" Chen studied Sheely's detailed observations. "No," Sheely replied. "Distribution hub. They're expanding territory, setting up infrastructure. The protection racket isn't about money. It's about controlling trade routes." Chen examined the notes with growing concern. "How do you know all this?" Sheely hesitated only briefly. 4 years as a Union Army sniper, took down operations like this. Same patterns, different faces. Understanding dawned in Chen's eyes. "That's why you're not paying them. That's why they're coming back tonight." Sheely moved to a large cabinet behind the bar, entering a combination into a hidden panel. The back swung open, revealing carefully organized military gear, her old equipment maintained out of habit all these years. "That's why I'm going to give them exactly what they want." Chen's eyes widened at the arsenal. "Sheely, if they're coming to send a message, they're coming to make an example, create fear, standard tactics." Sheely began checking her gear with practiced efficiency. "But they don't know what I know." "Which is?" Chen pressed. "Red River's got a reputation across 3 territories, never been caught, never left witnesses. That means they're professionals, ex-military probably. Cole was cavalry before his discharge." Shelley checked her rifle's scope alignment. "How is that helpful?" A small smile crossed Shelley's face. "Professionals follow patterns. Patterns can be predicted. More importantly, they can be used." A noise from outside. Horses approaching. Chen checked the window. Multiple Red River members converging on this area, at least 20 riders. "Right. On schedule." Sheely activated the modified hunting scope she'd positioned at key points around the saloon, giving her full coverage of the approaches. "You should go. Plausible deniability." Chen hesitated at the back door. "Shelley, if they're coming in force—" "They're not here to kill me," Sheely interrupted. "They're here to make a statement, which means they'll bring an audience, other business owners they're pressuring. This isn't just about my saloon anymore." Chen gripped the doorframe. "Be careful. These guys, they're not just thugs." "I know," Sheely replied, making final adjustments to her gear. "That's what makes this interesting." After Chen left, Sheely completed her preparations. She'd spent weeks modifying her saloon, adding surprises that would only be apparent to someone with her training. The surveillance scopes showed Cole arriving with his main force, 15 riders plus 3 wagons. They were bringing tools for destruction. Her pocket watch chimed softly. A message from Cole appeared. "Last chance to make the smart play." Another from Beth. "Red River riders watching our house. Pa wants to know if we should run." And a third from Chen. "Multiple reports of gang activity near the saloon." Sheely answered Beth first. "Stay inside. You're not their target." Then Chen. "Everything under control, trust me." She didn't respond to Cole. The first rock crashed through her front window at exactly 8 p.m., right on schedule. Professional crews liked round numbers, liked organization. Through her scopes, Sheely watched Red River members dragging local business owners from their wagons, forced witnesses to what happened to those who refused protection. "Bring them around front," Cole ordered, his voice carrying in the night air. "Make sure they have a good view." Sheely stood in the shadows of her saloon, Springfield rifle ready, watching through the broken window as Cole approached with Ghost and Hawkins flanking him. "Could have done this the easy way," Cole called out. "Could have been reasonable. Now you have to be an example." Sheely's voice carried clearly in response. "Only example being set tonight is what happens when you target the wrong saloon." Cole laughed at her response, the sound carrying across the tense night air. "Big words from a woman about to lose everything. Ghost, Hawkins, teach our widow friend about Red River's version of business etiquette." The two enforcers approached, carrying iron bars. Behind them, more gang members began smashing windows and furniture, their gang insignia being painted across the saloon's weathered walls. That's when Sheely triggered her first countermeasure. The saloon's oil lamps exploded to full brightness, momentarily blinding everyone outside. Simultaneously, strategically placed flash charges, courtesy of her old military connections, disoriented the gang's horses, sending them into panic. In the confusion, Sheely moved like a ghost through her domain, years of battlefield experience taking over. Ghost and Hawkins were professionals, but they'd never faced someone with Sheely's particular skill set. The fight was brief, efficient. Both enforcers were down before they realized what was happening. "Inside!" Cole shouted, but Sheely had already vanished into the shadows of her saloon. Red River members charged in, finding themselves in a maze of overturned furniture and broken glass, arranged precisely to Sheely's advantage. The lamps went dark. In the darkness, they heard Sheely's voice. "You chose this saloon because you thought it was an easy target, because you think violence and fear make you powerful. Time to learn why you're wrong." What followed would be whispered about in Silverback Ridge for years to come. The saloon became a killing house of professional-grade counterattacks. Every shadow concealed a threat, every corner a surprise. Sheely moved like the ghost her old unit had named her for, using her intimate knowledge of the space to devastating effect. Within minutes, half of Cole's crew was down, not dead but efficiently disabled by precise shots to legs and shoulders. Cole, to his credit, recognized the situation was unraveling. "Fall back! Everyone out!" But Sheely wasn't finished. As Red River retreated, they found their horses scattered, wagons overturned, and the sound of approaching riders, not the local law they'd paid off, but state rangers responding to anonymous tips about criminal activity. "This isn't over," Cole shouted into the darkness. Sheely's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "You're right, this is just the beginning. You wanted to make an example of my saloon. Congratulations, now everyone knows what happens when you target the wrong business." As Red River fled on foot, leaving disabled men and abandoned wagons behind, the gathered business owners watched in stunned silence. Sheely emerged from her saloon, calmly surveying the damage. Her pocket watch chimed, a message from Chen. "State rangers have detained 8 Red River members, but Cole got away." Shelley smiled slightly. She'd expected that. Cole was a professional. After all, but now Red River had a choice to make: cut their losses and leave Silverback Ridge, or escalate against someone who clearly wasn't the simple widow they'd thought. Looking at her vandalized saloon, Sheely already knew which choice they'd make, and she was counting on it. Morning light revealed the full extent of Red River's attempted intimidation. Sheely's saloon bore their gang marks in red paint, windows shattered, furniture splintered. But the real message was in what they'd left behind, their injured men, now in state rangers' custody. Beth arrived early, her eyes wide at the destruction. "Miss Shelley, I saw the stories spreading through town." "Sir Jane, people are talking about what happened." "Go home, Beth. Saloon's closed today." But the girl stood her ground, showing unexpected steel. "No way. I want to help. Pa says what you did, standing up to them. People are starting to talk about fighting back." Sheely studied her young barmaid. The girl had guts, but that could get her killed. "Beth, they were watching your house last night." Beth interrupted. "If you hadn't warned us, I want to learn, not just about serving drinks." Before Shelley could respond, her pocket watch chimed, a message from Chen. "Need you at the ranger station. We found something in those wagons." Shelley considered her options. "Fine," she told Beth, "but you stay in the saloon, work on cleaning. No going outside, no talking to anyone about last night. Clear?" "Crystal clear, Miss Shelley." At the ranger station, Chen led Shelley to the evidence room. State rangers swarmed over the abandoned Red River wagons, methodically documenting everything. "Look at this!" Chen pointed to a hidden compartment in one wagon's false bottom. "Custom built, professionally installed. We found them in all the wagons." Shelley examined the compartment. High-grade craftsmanship, pressure-sealed, reinforced, perfect for running guns. "But here's the weird part," Chen continued. "No weapons residue, not a trace of gunpowder or ammunition." "Because they're not moving guns," Shelley realized, studying the modifications. "They're moving something else. Check for unusual wear patterns, signs of heavy security measures." Chen's eyes widened. "You think they're moving gold, payroll shipments?" Shelley shook her head, comparing the wagon modifications to her wartime experience. "These weren't done at their stable here. Too professional. Track the work." "Already did," Chen replied. "Traces back to a custom wagon shop in Nevada. Same state where 3 other towns reported Red River protection rackets last month." Shelley nodded, pieces falling into place. "They're establishing a supply line. Silverback Ridge is just one point in a larger network. The protection racket isn't about money. It's about controlling distribution routes." A commotion at the station's entrance interrupted them. Deputy Reed stormed in, making straight for Chen. "This is my jurisdiction," Reed snapped. "State rangers have no authority here." "They do when it involves a multi-state criminal enterprise," Chen countered. "Or did. Red River not tell you that part when they bought you?" Reed's face darkened. "Watch your accusations, Sheriff." His eyes finally landed on Shelley. "The widow. You're causing a lot of problems for people who don't like problems." "Send them my bill," Shelley replied calmly. "I specialize in solving problems." Reed moved closer, lowering his voice. "You have no idea what's really happening here. Walk away for your own good." Shelley matched his tone. "How much did it take, Reed? What's the going rate for a deputy's conscience these days?" Reed's hand twitched toward his gun, but Chen stepped between them. "That's enough, Deputy Reed. You're interfering with an active investigation. Leave, now." After Reed stormed out, Chen turned to Shelley. "He'll warn them." Shelley nodded. "Count on it. How long to process the evidence from the wagons? At least 48 hours. Why? Because we don't have 48 hours. Red River's going to move everything they can't afford to lose. Tonight." Shelley's pocket watch chimed with an urgent message from Doc Wilson at the town clinic. 3 poisoning cases just came in. Something strange. Never seen symptoms like this. Another message followed from Beth. Unknown riders watching the saloon. They're dressed different, not like the usual gang. Through her surveillance scopes, Shelley observed new players entering Silverback Ridge. These weren't typical Red River thugs. Their horses showed military-grade tack, their movements suggesting professional training. Her gut told her the situation was escalating beyond simple gang violence. Back at the saloon, Shelley found Beth exactly where she'd left her, but something was wrong. The girl's hands shook as she stacked broken chairs. "They came by while you were gone. Beth said quietly. Cole himself. Sheely's expression hardened. What did he say? That I should find a new job. Said working here could be dangerous to my health. Beth swallowed hard. He knew things, Miss Sheely, about my family, my little sister's school schedule. Sheely placed a steady hand on Beth's shoulder. Listen carefully. Go home. Pack bags for your family. Tell your father to take that vacation he's been talking about. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Beth started to protest, but Sheely cut her off. Trust me. After Beth left, Sheely began preparing her saloon again. Not like last night. That had been about sending a message. Tonight would be different. Tonight would be about ending things. Her pocket watch chimed with a message from Cole. Should have paid for protection. Now you get to watch everything burn. Sheely moved through her saloon, setting up equipment that had nothing to do with serving drinks. In the war, they'd called her Ghost Eye because she could dismantle enemy operations without leaving a trace. Red River was about to learn why. As darkness fell, Sheely made one last call to an old military contact in the state ranges. Remember that favor you owe me? Time to collect. I'm going to need resources, and I need them fast. Through her scopes, Sheely watched Red River members taking up positions around her saloon. More than last night, better armed. No forced witnesses this time. They thought they were coming to destroy one woman's business. Instead, they were walking into a trap carefully, designed by someone who'd spent years taking down operations exactly like theirs. Her pocket watch chimed one final time. Chen, in position. Are you sure about this? Sheely typed back, Tonight we find out what Red River's really doing in Silverback Ridge. Then she turned off the lamps and waited in the darkness of her saloon, ready to spring a trap that would change the town forever. Sheely watched through her surveillance network as Red River encircled the saloon. Unlike last night's shock and awe tactics, they moved with silent precision. Cole had brought his elite crew. Ex-military by their movements, each one armed with more than just intimidation tools. Police scanners quiet. Chen's voice whispered through Shelley's earpiece. Reed's keeping local deputies away. State rangers mysteriously redirected to a bank robbery 2 counties over. Shelley checked her pocket watch. 11:55 p.m. Another message from Doc Wilson. 7 poisoning cases now. Lab results are strange. These aren't normal toxins. The chemical structure is engineered. Through her scopes, Sheely watched Ghost and Hawkins coordinating teams around the saloon's perimeter. Professional work. They were treating this like a tactical operation. Chen, what did the lab find in those wagon compartments? Preliminary results just came in. Traces of chemical compounds, the kind used in specialized weapons manufacturing. The pieces clicked into place. Sheely realized they're not just running guns, they're moving something else. Silverback Ridge is their testing ground. Movement at the saloon's rear entrance caught her attention. 2 Red River members were approaching with metal cutting tools. Not here for intimidation this time, they meant to breach. All teams in position. Ghost's voice carried through Shelley's directional. Microphones. No witnesses tonight. We do this clean. Remember, Cole added, the widow is mine. Send the message, then burn it all. Sheely keyed her radio. Chen, hold your people back until my signal, no matter what you hear. The first cutting torch sparked to life, attacking the saloon's reinforced rear door. Sheely moved silently through her prepared kill house, activating systems that had nothing to do with serving drinks. The breach came simultaneously from 3 points: professional coordination. Red River members poured in, expecting to overwhelm a simple widow. Instead, they found themselves in a carefully crafted maze of death. Flash charges, disoriented enhanced night vision gear, while Sheely's custom ventilation system filled the space with disorienting smoke. Her modified sound system created confusion with subsonic pulses. She'd turned her saloon into a tactical nightmare. Contact! Someone shouted, firing at shadows. Shelley moved like a ghost through her domain, using her intimate knowledge of the layout to devastating effect. Years of sniper experience combined with home field advantage. 3 Red River members went down in the first 30 seconds, not dead, but efficiently disabled. "It's a trap," Hawkins' voice carried over the chaos. "Fall back." An explosion rocked the night, not from Shelley's saloon, but from across town. Then another, and another. Multiple explosions reported. Chen's voice crackled through Shelley's earpiece. "Red River's livery stable, their storage facilities. They're destroying evidence." Shelley ducked under wild gunfire, analyzing the situation. This attack isn't about revenge, she realized. It's cover for something bigger. Through the smoke and chaos, Shelley spotted Cole, moving with purpose toward her office, not attacking, not participating in the firefight. He was after something specific. Chen. The explosions. They're destroying their operation, but they'd need to move their product first. Check travel routes for their escape wagons. Shelley moved to intercept Cole, but Ghost appeared through the smoke-wielding military-grade weapons. The fight was brief, brutal, and technically illegal in 3 territories. Ghost was good. Special. Horses good, but Shelley had spent years preparing for exactly this kind of close-quarters combat. "Stay down," Shelley advised the unconscious enforcer, securing him with rope. In her office, Cole was accessing her lockbox, downloading something. Shelley's appearance in the doorway made him freeze. "Figured it out yet?" Cole asked, still working on the lockbox. "What you're really doing here?" Shelley kept her rifle trained on him, noting his hand position, ready to draw. "Testing grounds for something new. Silverback Ridge is perfect. Isolated, controlled access, corrupt local law enforcement." Cole smiled coldly. "Close. We're not just testing. We're pioneering. Our chemists have created something unique, highly addictive, nearly impossible to trace." He gestured toward the explosions in town. "The poisoning cases? Testing different formulas, studying effects. Silverback Ridge is just the first step." "And the protection racket," Shelley prompted, noting his subtle shift in stance. "Distribution network," Cole confirmed. "Once we perfect the formula, we'll have a delivery system already in place. Every business under our protection becomes a distribution point. By the time anyone realizes what's happening, it'll be too late." Shelley moved closer, noting Cole's hand drifting toward a concealed weapon. "Why tell me this?" Cole's smile turned predatory. "Because you're already dead. This whole place is wired to burn in 10 minutes. There won't be any evidence left, just another tragic accident. Local widow dies in saloon fire. Should have paid for protection." 10 minutes, Shelley allowed herself a small smile. "That's about 9 minutes longer than I need." The fight that followed would be talked about in whispered tones around Silverback Ridge for years. Cole was military trained, experienced in close-quarters combat, but Shelley had spent 4 years perfecting the art of taking down exactly this kind of operation. Federal agents just intercepted 3 Red River wagons. Chen's voice crackled through Shelley's earpiece. "They're loaded with laboratory equipment and chemical supplies." Cole, hearing this, laughed through bloodied lips. "Doesn't matter. Can't stop what's coming. We're not just some gang. We're backed by people you can't touch. Corporate money, political connections." "That's why you're destroying everything," Shelley realized, maintaining her combat stance. "Protecting your real backers. Silverback Ridge was just the test run." Through her surveillance scopes, she spotted more Red River riders converging on the town. "We've got operations setting up in 12 other towns. You can't stop." The rest was lost as the first explosive charge detonated, starting the saloon's planned destruction. Cole used the distraction to break free, running into the smoke-filled main room. "Chen, move in now! Full breach!" State rangers swarmed the building as the fire spread. Red River members found themselves caught between Shelley's traps and professionally executed law enforcement containment. Through the chaos, Cole disappeared, but not before Sheely placed a tracker on him during their fight. Some habits from wartime you never lost. As the saloon burned, Sheely watched from outside. The physical building might be destroyed, but she'd accomplished what she needed. Red River's operation was exposed, their test program disrupted. Her pocket watch chimed one last time that night. An unknown number. You have no idea what you've started. This goes higher than you can imagine. Shelley smiled slightly, watching her saloon burn while federal agents processed captured Red River members. They thought destroying her business would be the end. Instead, it was just the beginning of a war that would expose corruption at the highest levels of the territory and beyond. Dawn painted Silverback Ridge in shades of grey smoke as firefighters contained the last embers of Shelley's saloon. Federal agents swarmed the scene, processing evidence and detained Red River members. But Sheely's attention was on her pocket watch, watching the tracker she'd planted on Cole. Targets heading north on Highway 23, Chen reported, coordinating. With state rangers, 3 wagons in convoy, heavy escort. Let him run, Sheely replied, studying building plans on a weathered map. He'll lead us to something bigger. Doc Wilson arrived from his clinic, still in his medical coat, his face showing the strain of dealing with the poisoning crisis. Lab, results came back on the latest victims. The chemical composition keeps changing. They're refining something. Sheely showed him Cole's stolen documents, technical formulas, trial results. They're weaponizing addiction, creating designer drugs that can be mass-produced and distributed through legitimate businesses. Like a protection racket that's actually a delivery network. But here's what doesn't make sense, Chen added, joining them. The investment level, the equipment we seized, the lab setup, the personnel, this is corporate-grade operation, way beyond a gang's resources. Shaylee's secure pocket watch chimed, a message from her old military contact in federal law enforcement. You were right. Red River's finances trace back to shell companies. Big money behind this. Watch your back. Miss Shelley! Beth's voice cut through the morning air. The girl ran up, clutching a telegram. You need to see this. The newswire showed chaos across Silverback Ridge. Multiple businesses that had refused Red River's protection were finding their customers mysteriously ill. The clinic was overwhelmed. They're triggering a crisis, Shelley realized, forcing the town to depend on their protection. Chen's voice carried urgency. That's not all. All the towns are reporting similar patterns. Red River's not just here, they're everywhere. A sleek black carriage pulled up, and a man in an expensive suit emerged. Miss Hawthorne, he introduced himself. Marcus Rivers, Federal Investigations. We need to talk. Marcus Rivers wasn't what Sheely expected from a federal investigator. His tailored suit and polished demeanor spoke of Washington offices, not frontier justice. But it was his eyes that caught her attention. Cold, calculating, assessing everything with the precision she recognized from her military days. Walk with me, Miss Hawthorne. Rivers gestured away from the smoldering ruins of her saloon. Or, should I say, Captain Mitchell? Sheely's expression didn't change, but her hand drifted closer to her concealed weapon. Rivers noticed, smiling slightly, your service record is impressive. 87 confirmed eliminations during the war. Then you disappeared. Until now. They walked past federal agents processing the scene, cataloging evidence from the night's chaos. Your operation here caught our attention, Rivers continued. Professional, precise, almost like it was conducted by someone with extensive military experience. If you're here to arrest me, Sheely replied evenly, we can skip the pleasantries. Rivers laughed, the sound lacking any warmth. Arrest you? No, Captain. I'm here to recruit you. Red River isn't just a gang. They're the visible face of something much larger, something that threatens the entire territory. Sheely studied him carefully. The corporate backing Chen discovered. Rivers nodded. Western Chemical Corporation. They're using gangs like Red River to test and distribute new chemical compounds, addictive substances engineered to create dependent. Our customers, but that's just the surface. A messenger approached with urgent telegrams. Rivers read them quickly, his expression darkening. 3 more towns reporting mass poisonings. Red River's operation is expanding faster than we anticipated. He handed Shelley one message, a detailed report of Cole's convoy heading north. They're not running, Shelley realized, analyzing the patterns. They're activating other distribution networks, using the chaos here as cover to accelerate their timeline. Rivers confirmed her assessment. Western Chemical has operations in every major settlement from here to Dakota Territory. They're building an empire based on addiction and control. Sheely's pocket watch chimed. A message from Beth. More sick people arriving at Doc Wilson's. Different symptoms this time. He says it's like they're testing variations. Another from Chen. Deputy Reed found dead. Looked like suicide, but something's wrong. They're cleaning house, Rivers explained, eliminating loose ends. Reed knew too much about their local operation. He studied Sheely intently. We've been building a case against Western Chemical for months, but we can't move openly. They have too many political connections, too much influence. What exactly are you proposing? Sheely asked, though she suspected she already knew. Rivers smiled again, this time with genuine respect. We need someone who can operate in the shadows, someone with the skills to dismantle their operation piece by piece, someone they won't see coming, like a widow running a saloon. Sheely's voice carried a hint of irony. Exactly, Rivers confirmed. Your cover here is perfect. They think they've driven you out, destroyed your business. No one would expect you to become the tip of the spear in a covert operation against one of the most powerful corporations in the territory. Before Shelley could respond, gunfire erupted from the town's outskirts. Through her surveillance scope, she spotted Red River riders attacking the federal agent's perimeter. But something was wrong. These weren't normal gang members. Their tactics were too precise, their equipment too advanced. Western Chemical's security force, Rivers explained, drawing his own weapon. They're here to ensure nothing links back to the corporation. Sheely was already moving, her military training taking over. Get your people to cover. These aren't common outlaws. The attack was coordinated, professional, designed to destroy evidence and eliminate witnesses. Shelley found herself falling back into familiar patterns, coordinating with Rivers' agents to establish defensive positions. Through her scope, she recognized military hand signals being used by the attackers. These men have serious training. Ex-military. Mostly. Rivers confirmed. Western Chemical recruits from special forces, intelligence services. They're building a private army under the cover of corporate security. Sheely watched the attackers moving with tactical precision, attempting to flank their position. Chen, get Doc Wilson and the poisoning victims to the old mine tunnels. They're not here for a fight. They're here for a cleansing operation. Rivers keyed his radio, coordinating his agent's response. This is what we're facing, Captain. Western Chemical isn't just creating addictive substances, they're building infrastructure to control entire territories. Private armies, bought officials, distribution networks disguised as legitimate businesses. Shelley's mind raced, analyzing patterns and possibilities. The poisoning victims, they're not just test subjects. They're proving they can control entire populations. She spotted movement on the rooftops, snipers taking position. Your cover here is blown. They know the federal government is involved. Which is why we need you, Rivers replied, ducking under precise sniper fire. Someone who can operate outside official channels, someone with the skills to take them apart from the inside. Through her scope, Sheely counted at least 20 professional operators moving to surround them. This wasn't just about destroying evidence anymore. This was about sending a message. Her pocket watch chimed one final time, a message from an unknown number. "Stand down, Captain Mitchell. Walk away. Some wars aren't meant to be won." Sheely's response was to adjust her rifle's scope, falling back into the mindset that had earned her the name Ghost Eye during the war. "If I do this," she told Rivers, "I do it my way. No bureaucratic oversight, no political considerations." Rivers nodded, understanding the implications. "You'll have whatever resources you need. Just remember, this goes beyond Red River, beyond Western Chemical. We're talking about the future of the entire territory." Sheely chambered around in her Springfield rifle, muscle memory from countless battlefield operations taking over. "First, we survive this attack. Then we talk about dismantling an empire." The morning sun cast long shadows across Silverback Ridge as Sheely prepared to fight a different kind of war. Not for the Union this time, but for the soul of the frontier itself. Through her scope, she watched Western Chemical's operators, moving with lethal purpose, and allowed herself a small smile. They thought they were here to erase evidence of their operation. Instead, they were about to learn why she'd been the most feared sniper in the Union Army. The real war for Silverback Ridge was about to begin. The firefight that erupted across Silverback Ridge would be remembered as the day the town's quiet facade shattered completely. Western Chemical's operators moved with military precision, but they'd made a crucial mistake. They were fighting on Shelley's terrain. Every rooftop, every alley, every line of sight had been mapped and memorized during her months of preparation. "Three-man team, northwest corner," Sheely's voice crackled through the radio to Rivers' agents. "They're setting up a crossfire position." Her first shot dropped their spotter. The second disabled their heavy weapons specialist. The third operator barely had time to realize they'd lost tactical advantage before Sheely's round found his shoulder. "Jen, status on the evacuation?" Sheely asked, already moving to a new position. The sheriff's response came through broken static. "Doc Wilson's got the victims secured in the mine tunnels, but we've got a problem. Some of them are showing new symptoms. Whatever Western Chemical's testing, it's designed to create chaos." Rivers coordinated his remaining agents, establishing a defensive perimeter around the town center. "Their objective isn't just destroying evidence," he noted, studying the attackers' movements. "They're herding people towards specific locations." Sheely spotted it too. The tactical patterns suggested more than just a cleansing operation. "They're using this attack to continue their testing," she realized. "Forcing people into controlled spaces, probably releasing new chemical compounds." Her pocket watch chimed. Beth's message confirmed her suspicions. "Miss Sheely, strange smoke in the town hall. People getting sick, but different than before." Sheely's mind raced through military scenarios, analyzing patterns. Rivers, they're not just here to clean up their operation. This is a live field test. The attack is cover for deploying new substances. The federal investigator's expression hardened. "Can you prove it?" Through her scope, Sheely tracked Western Chemical operators, moving specialized equipment into position around the town. "Those aren't standard tactical gear cases," she observed. "Same design as the wagon compartments we found. They're releasing their compounds through the chaos of the firefight." "Give me a solution, Captain," Rivers demanded, ducking under precise sniper fire. Sheely was already moving, her years of military experience forming a counter-strategy. "They're professionals, following tactical protocols. That means they'll have a command center coordinating the operation. Find it. We find their testing data." Sheely's surveillance network picked up movement at the old telegraph office. Guards posted with military precision, communications equipment being installed. "There," she indicated. "They're using the telegraph lines to coordinate their teams. Standard operating procedure for covert ops." "My agents can't get close," Rivers noted. "Their security's too tight." Sheely checked her specialized gear, falling into familiar mission preparation patterns. They're not looking for a ghost. Rivers understood immediately. The same way you infiltrated Confederate command posts during the war. Operations similar, Sheely confirmed. They're expecting a direct assault, not a shadow operation. She detailed her plan to Rivers, watching his expression shift from skepticism to grudging respect. If you can get their testing data, it proves Western Chemical's involvement. We can move against them officially. Sheely's pocket watch buzzed, multiple messages flooding in. Chen reporting new poisoning cases, Beth describing strange symptoms among townspeople, Doc Wilson requesting urgent medical supplies. They're accelerating their timeline, Rivers noted, using this attack to gather as much testing data as possible before we can stop them. Not if I get to their command center first, Sheely replied, checking her specialized infiltration gear. The same equipment she'd used for dozens of covert operations during the war, maintained out of habit all these years. Keep their attention focused on your agents. I'll handle the rest. Moving through Silverback Ridge's hidden infrastructure. Maintenance tunnels, connected basements, roof access points she'd mapped meticulously, Sheely became the ghost her old unit had named her for. Western Chemical's operators were professionals, but they didn't know this terrain like she did. The telegraph office's security was impressive. Multiple layers, redundant systems, professional operators. But Sheely had spent years perfecting the art of invisible warfare. While Rivers' agents kept their attention with coordinated attacks, she slipped through their defenses like a shadow. Inside, she found exactly what she expected. Detailed testing protocols, chemical formulas, deployment strategies. Western Chemical wasn't just creating addictive substances. They were developing sophisticated chemical weapons disguised as commercial products. The operation in Silverback Ridge was just the beginning. "Rivers," Shelley whispered into her radio, photographing documents with specialized equipment. "It's worse than we thought. They're not just testing their compounds. They're preparing for mass deployment across multiple territories." She transmitted the evidence, watching through her scope as Western Chemical's operators continued their coordinated attack on the town. "This is enough," Rivers confirmed. "With this evidence, we can move against Western Chemical officially. Pull out now, Captain." But Sheely wasn't finished. Through the command center's windows, she spotted Cole himself arriving, not running like they'd thought, but coordinating the operation personally. "Slight change of plans," she informed Rivers. "Cole's here. He's the direct link between Red River and Western Chemical. We need him alive." The federal investigators' response was immediate. "Too risky. We have the evidence. Don't engage." But Sheely was already moving, years of battlefield instincts taking over. Cole's presence changed everything. He wasn't just a gang leader. He was a corporate operative with direct knowledge of Western Chemical's entire operation. Taking him alive would unravel their network faster than any document trail. Through her scope, she watched Cole coordinating with Western Chemical's security. Teams, utterly unaware that the ghost of his past operations was preparing to strike. The real war for Silverback Ridge wasn't just about stopping one company's criminal operation anymore. It was about preventing a future where corporations could wage silent wars against entire populations. Shelley chambered a round in her Springfield rifle, the familiar weight grounding her in memories of countless covert operations. Cole thought he was commanding a sophisticated tactical operation. He was about to learn why they'd called her Ghost Eye during the war, and why some legends of the frontier were better left undisturbed. Shelley moved through the telegraph office's shadows like a wraith, her years of covert operations experience guiding every silent step. Cole stood by the main console, coordinating Western Chemical's tactical teams with military precision. He was so focused on directing the chaos outside that he never noticed the ghost in his command center until it was too late. Hello, Cole. Shaylee's voice carried that particular quiet tone she'd used during battlefield interrogations. The former cavalry officer spun, reaching for his weapon, but froze at the feel of Shelley's rifle pressed against his spine. Hands where I can see them, slowly. You don't understand what you're dealing with. Cole's voice carried a mixture of anger and something else. Fear. Western Chemical isn't just some corporation. They've got plans for the entire territory. Plans that can't be stopped. Through the office windows, Sheely watched Western Chemical's operators continuing their coordinated attack on Silverback Ridge. The chemical weapons testing, she prompted, securing Cole's hands. Tell me about the deployment strategy. You think this is just about weapons? Cole laughed bitterly. The chemicals, the addiction, that's just phase one. Western Chemicals creating dependent populations, entire towns reliant on their products. Once they control the supply, Shelley's pocket watch chimed. Urgent messages from multiple sources. Chen reporting more poisoning cases with evolved symptoms. Doc Wilson documenting strange behavioral changes in affected townspeople. Beth describing panic spreading through the mine tunnels where civilians had taken shelter. They're using this attack to test their final compound, Sheely realized, analyzing the tactical patterns outside. The chaos, the confined spaces, it's all designed to maximize exposure data. Cole's smile turned predatory. Smart girl, but you're too late. The test results are already being transmitted to other facilities. Silverback Ridge is just the beginning. An explosion rocked the telegraph office. Western Chemicals operators breaching the perimeter Rivers agents had established. Shelley, get out of there! The federal investigator's voice crackled through her radio. They're making a push to secure their command center. But Sheely wasn't finished. The other facilities, she pressed Cole, her rifle never wavering. Where? The former cavalry officer's eyes darted to the tactical maps spread across the command center's walls. You can't stop it. Western Chemicals infrastructure is already in place across 3 territories. The distribution networks, the compromised officials, the private security forces. Shelley studied the maps, her tactical mind processing patterns. Red River's protection racket hadn't just been about controlling businesses. They'd been establishing a sophisticated delivery system for Western Chemicals compounds. Every marked town represented a potential target for mass chemical deployment. Rivers. Sheely keyed her radio. Are you seeing these maps? The scale of their operation? The federal investigator's response was grim. We'll need an army to shut down that many facilities. Shelley smiled slightly, securing Cole to a support beam, or one ghost. The office doors exploded inward as Western Chemicals' tactical team made their final push. But Sheely was already moving, using skills honed across dozens of covert operations. The first 2 operators went down before they realized what was happening. The third managed to raise his weapon before Sheely's precise shot disabled him. You can't fight an entire corporation, Cole shouted as Sheely gathered critical intelligence documents. They've got unlimited resources, political protection, private armies. Sheely's response carried echoes of countless battlefield victories. I don't need to fight the entire corporation, just dismantle it piece by piece. Through her scope, she spotted more Western Chemical operators converging on the telegraph office. But something had changed in their movements, less tactical precision, more desperation. They weren't just trying to secure their command center anymore. They were trying to eliminate evidence. Rivers. Sheely transmitted the tactical maps and testing protocols she'd gathered. Get this to your superiors. Proof of Western Chemicals' entire operation. She could hear the federal investigator coordinating with his agents, preparing to move against multiple corporate facilities simultaneously. Sheely, we've got a new problem, Chen's voice crackled through her radio. The poisoning victims in the mine tunnels, some of them are showing violent tendencies. Doc Wilson says it's like their behavior is being chemically altered. Sheely's mind raced through military scenarios, analyzing possibilities. They're not just testing addictive substances, she realized, studying Cole's captured documents. They're developing compounds for population control, chemical cocktails designed to modify behavior patterns. The implications were staggering. Western Chemical wasn't just building an empire based on addiction. They were creating tools to reshape entire societies. Her pocket watch chimed with an urgent message from Beth. "Miss Shelley, something's wrong with Pa. Him and others who were exposed. They're not acting right, like they're being controlled somehow." Another explosion rocked the telegraph office as Western Chemicals operators made another push to breach Shelley's position. "Time to go," she told the secured Cole, gathering the last crucial pieces of intelligence. "Your corporate masters are about to learn why some ghosts are better left undisturbed." Through her scope, she spotted tactical teams attempting to flank. Her position, professional work, but they were fighting with desperate energy now. They knew their operation was compromised. "Rivers," Sheely keyed her radio one final time, "get your people clear. Phase 1 is complete." The federal investigators' response was immediate. "Sheely, what are you planning?" She smiled slightly, checking her specialized equipment. "Same thing I did during the war, becoming a ghost that haunts their entire operation." As Western Chemicals operators breached the telegraph office, they found Cole secured, but alone. Shelley had vanished into Silverback Ridge's infrastructure, taking with her everything she needed to start dismantling their empire. They thought they were fighting a simple widow. Instead, they'd awakened something far more dangerous, a ghost with the skills, experience, and motivation to tear their entire operation apart from the shadows. The real war was just beginning, and Sheely Hawthorne was about to remind them why she'd been the most feared covert operative in the Union Army. Western Chemical had unleashed their weapons on her town. Now she would show them the true meaning of invisible warfare. The following days saw Sheely's war against Western Chemical evolve from direct confrontation to invisible infiltration. She moved like a shadow through their infrastructure, targeting key facilities identified in Cole's captured intelligence. Each strike was precise, professional, designed to dismantle their operation piece by piece. Another storage facility hit in Dakota Territory, Rivers reported through Shelley's secure communications network. Their chemical stockpiles destroyed. Research data extracted. Western Chemicals Board of Directors is getting nervous. Shelley studied surveillance photographs of their latest facility, a seemingly innocent warehouse outside Carson City. Her trained eye spotted the security patterns, the military-grade equipment disguised as common cargo. "They're adapting," she noted, "increasing security, changing protocols, but they're still vulnerable." From her hidden base in Silverback Ridge's abandoned mine complex, Sheely coordinated with Rivers' federal agents and Chen's local law enforcement. The poisoning victims were recovering under Doc Wilson's care, their strange symptoms fading as Western Chemicals compounds left their systems. "Miss Sheely," Beth's voice carried urgency through the radio. "Pa's himself again, but he remembers everything. Says they were testing something called compliance. Made people suggestible, easy to control." Sheely added this information to her growing intelligence file. Each piece revealed more about Western Chemicals' true plans. "Their operation goes deeper than we thought." Rivers shared encrypted documents showing corporate connections to political figures, law enforcement officials, even military contractors. They're not just building a distribution network, they're creating infrastructure for territorial control. Sheely's methodical strikes were having an effect. Western Chemical stock prices were falling as mysterious accidents plagued their facilities. Key personnel were disappearing, only to resurface in federal custody with detailed confessions. The corporation's carefully constructed facade was cracking. "They're getting desperate," Chen reported, tracking unusual movement patterns around remaining Western chemical facilities. Bringing in more security, ex-military specialists, they know they're being hunted. Shelley allowed herself a small smile, remembering similar operations during the war. Desperation makes them predictable. They'll consolidate resources, protect critical assets. She studied tactical maps showing Western Chemical's remaining infrastructure. That's when we strike. At their heart, her pocket watch chimed with an encrypted message, coordinates for Western Chemical's secret research facility in the mountains. The source of their chemical weapons program, where they develop the compounds tested in places like Silverback Ridge. Rivers, Shelley keyed her secure radio. I found their main lab. Time to end this. The federal investigator's response was cautious. Shelley, that facility will be heavily fortified. Even you can't. Already in motion, she interrupted, checking her specialized equipment. The same gear that had made her a legend during the war would now help her dismantle a corporate empire. Some ghosts can't be stopped. Western Chemical's about to learn why. Through her scope, Shelley watched the sun set over mountain peaks hiding Western Chemical's most closely guarded secrets. Tomorrow would bring another invisible battle in a shadow war few would ever know about. But for tonight, she allowed herself to remember why she fought, not for glory or revenge, but to protect places like Silverback Ridge from forces that would turn them into testing grounds for corporate control. The real war was far from over, but Shelley, Ghost Eye Hawthorne, was just getting started. Western Chemical had chosen the wrong widow to target and the wrong town to use as their laboratory. Now they would learn the true cost of awakening a legend. The mountain facility loomed like a fortress in the dawn light, its security measures disguised as mining operations. Shelley studied it through her specialized scope, noting guard rotations, surveillance patterns, and tactical weaknesses. Western Chemical's crown jewel was exactly what she expected, a corporate black site masquerading as a forgotten frontier outpost. Perimeters tight, Rivers observed through encrypted communications. Military-grade security systems, professional operators, multiple layers of defense. They're expecting us. Shelley's response carried the quiet confidence of countless covert operations. No, they're expecting an assault, not a ghost. Her infiltration began as darkness fell, using skills honed across years of battlefield operations. Western Chemical's security was impressive. Motion sensors, infrared detection, armed patrols with military training. But Shelley had spent the war perfecting the art of invisible warfare, and some skills never faded. First checkpoint breached, she whispered into her secure radio, moving like a shadow through the facility's outer defenses. Rivers' response crackled with tension. Shelley, we've got movement. Multiple vehicles approaching from the south. Corporate response team. Through her scope, Shelley spotted the incoming reinforcements, tactical teams with advanced equipment and professional coordination. They know something's coming, she analyzed their movements. But they're looking outward, expecting a frontal assault. Time to remind them why some threats can't be seen. Inside the facility's main research wing, Shelley found exactly what they'd feared. Laboratories filled with sophisticated equipment, testing chambers designed for human subjects, detailed records of chemical experiments conducted on unsuspecting populations. Western Chemical wasn't just developing weapons, they were perfecting tools for mass control. Rivers, she transmitted photographs of critical documents. Evidence of everything. Clinical trials, deployment strategies, political connections, their entire operation exposed. The federal investigators' response was immediate. Enough to take them down. Get out of there. But Shelley wasn't finished. Through sealed doors marked with biohazard warnings, she discovered Western Chemical's next phase. Chemical compounds, engineered for long-term behavioral modification. Formulas designed to turn entire communities into compliant test subjects. Her pocket watch chimed, urgent messages from multiple sources. Chen reporting corporate security forces converging on the facility. Beth describing strange atmospheric changes around the mountain. Doc Wilson warning about new chemical signatures detected in the area. They're activating something, Shelley realized, studying emergency protocols displayed on laboratory screens. Rivers, the facility isn't just for research. It's designed to deploy their compounds across the entire region. The federal investigator's voice carried rare alarm. Sheely, get out, now! But retreat wasn't an option. Sheely moved deeper into the facility's secured areas, using skills that had made her the most feared covert operative in the Union Army. Western Chemical thought their security was unbreakable. They were about to learn why some ghosts couldn't be contained. The real battle for Silverback Ridge and beyond was reaching its climax, and Sheely, Ghost Eye Hawthorne, was exactly where she needed to be, in the shadows of a corporate fortress, preparing to dismantle an empire built on chemical control and human experimentation. The war she'd started in a frontier saloon was about to end in a mountain laboratory, and Western Chemical would never see their destruction coming. Sheely moved through Western Chemical's fortress like a vengeful spirit, systematically targeting critical systems and gathering damning evidence. Each step took her deeper into the corporation's dark heart, revealing horrors that confirmed their worst suspicions. Found their central data core, she transmitted to Rivers, photographing detailed records of human experiments, political bribes, and territorial conquest plans. Everything we need to expose their entire operation. The federal investigator's response was urgent. Sheely, corporate securities mobilizing, multiple teams converging on your position. Through the facility's surveillance network, Sheely watched Western Chemical's response unfold. Professional operators, moving with military precision, securing vital areas, establishing tactical positions. But their movements betrayed something beyond standard protocol. Panic. They're trying to purge evidence, she observed, noting emergency protocols being activated throughout the facility. Initiating scorched earth procedures. Her pocket watch chimed with critical alerts. Chen reporting mass system activations across the mountain complex. Doc Wilson detecting dangerous chemical signatures in the facility's ventilation system. It's not just evidence destruction, Sheely realized, studying facility schematics. They're preparing for mass deployment, using their security breach protocols as cover to launch their final phase. The implications struck her with cold clarity. Western Chemical wasn't just defending their facility. They were using this confrontation to trigger their master plan. Moving deeper into the facility's restricted zones, Sheely encountered increasingly sophisticated security measures. Biometric scanners, armed security drones, automated defense systems. But she hadn't earned her reputation as Ghost Eye by letting technology stop her. Rivers, she transmitted through secure channels, found their command center. You're not going to believe this. The federal investigator's response was lost in static as Sheely discovered Western Chemical's true objective, a massive distribution system designed to spread their behavior modification compounds across entire territories. They're not just testing weapons. She analyzed tactical displays showing deployment zones covering multiple states. They're building infrastructure for chemical subjugation, turning the frontier into their personal laboratory. Through reinforced windows, she watched more corporate security forces arriving, small armies disguised as private contractors. Sheely's military training kicked in, analyzing threats and calculating responses. Western Chemical had created the perfect fortress, defended by professional operators with advanced equipment. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd designed their security to stop armies, not ghosts. Time to remind them why some legends can't be contained, she whispered, activating specialized equipment that had made her the most feared covert operative in the Union Army. The facility's lights flickered as Sheely began her final assault. Not with bullets or explosions, but with the invisible warfare she'd perfected during countless battlefield operations. Western Chemical thought they were facing a simple tactical breach. Instead, they were about to experience the systematic dismantling of their entire operation by a shadow they couldn't fight. The war for Silverback Ridge was about to end where it truly began, in the darkness of corporate secrets and chemical weapons. And Sheely, Ghost Eye Hawthorne was exactly where she needed to be, moving like a wraith through their defenses, preparing to show Western Chemical why some ghosts were better left undisturbed. The real battle wasn't just about stopping one corporation's plans anymore. It was about preventing a future where chemical control replaced frontier freedom. The mountain fortress had become her final battlefield, and Shelley intended to remind them all why she'd been the most decorated sniper in Union history. Western Chemical's empire was about to fall to an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't fight, and couldn't escape. In the end, Shelley's methodical assault brought Western Chemical's empire crashing down. Their mountain fortress became their tomb, as Ghost Eye systematically exposed their crimes and dismantled their operation. The corporation's secret files revealed connections to politicians, law enforcement, and military contractors, all laid bare for federal prosecution. Silverback Ridge recovered, its people freed from chemical control. Though the scars of being an unwitting test site would linger, Beth went on to train under Sheely, learning the arts of covert resistance. Doc Wilson's research into the chemical compounds helped develop treatments for other affected communities. Cole and Western Chemical's board faced federal charges, their dreams of territorial control shattered by a widow they'd underestimated. Shelley returned to her saloon, rebuilt with help from the townspeople, though few ever knew her role in dismantling a corporate conspiracy that nearly consumed the frontier. For those interested in more tales of frontier justice and shadowy corporate conspiracies, like and subscribe to follow Sheely Ghost Eye Hawthorne's continued adventures. The West holds many untold stories of corruption, resistance, and redemption, and some legends are just beginning to emerge from the shadows.